Immortals of Aveum is an EA original single-player FPMS, a first-person magic shooter that offers a captivating, story-driven experience centered around the use of, well, magic, as the core gameplay mechanic. As an Overwatch player who had the opportunity to play test the game early at the EA offices, thanks again for sponsoring me, by the way, I am stepping outside of my Overwatch bubble to provide you with some initial first impressions. One of the first things that grabbed my attention is the inclusion of a skill tree, unlike, okay, come on, it was easy, low-hanging fruit. The skill tree in Immortals of Aveum is carefully designed with 3 branches, red, blue, and green, boasting an impressive selection of over 80 talents. The red magic tree caters to those who prefer close range and aggressive combat, offering powerful blasts and synergies with your own melee attacks. For example, the corrosive punch inflicts corrosion when using melee attacks, which can increase the follow-up red spell damage to the target by 20%. The green magic tree focuses on utility spells, providing options like reducing blink cooldowns or even granting the ability to double blink. However, don't be deceived by its utility nature, as green magic still packs a punch, featuring homing effects that can prove effective against fast-moving targets. In contrast, the blue magic tree strikes a balance between the other two, offering mid-range bolt attacks, potent projectiles, and the ability to exploit enemy weak spots. The core RGB magic system in Immortals of Aveum boasts remarkable depth. Not only can players create unique and eccentric builds with the skill tree, which can be reset for a cost, thank God that's in the game, but each magic color archetype can also be modified based on the equipped sigil. So for example, this red magic sigil has the shotgun blast-like ability, while another red magic sigil can actually launch explosive grenades. In my brief playtime, I experimented with a build that invested heavily in the green magic tree to gain additional blinks while allocating the remaining points into the red magic tree so that I could blink in, blast in melee enemies, and then blink back out. Oh, it doesn't stop there though. Players can also equip up to 6 powerful mana-consuming spells, including a massive ultimate ability that launches a long-range beam, as well as 4 utility spells that can actually be swapped out. These utility spells range from a lash hook to bring enemies in, to time-slowing green magic goop, and even a red beam stun. To add another layer of complexity, there's even a shield mechanic, allowing players to erect a defensive barrier at the cost of not being allowed to sprint. You feeling overwhelmed yet? Because I certainly did. As while I attempted to explore all 3 magic colors, I actually eventually gravitated towards a predominantly red spell-focused playstyle. Very aggressive, get in, get out. Given time, I anticipate the community will theorycraft and come up with some insane optimized builds. Therefore, my advice for new players is to probably just focus on one magic color and work from there. One aspect I found slightly frustrating was that you actually need to cycle through each magic type using the RGB sequence. So when I was on the red magic and I needed to switch to the quick blue spell, I had to tap the cycle button twice. It would have been a lot more convenient if each color had an individual binding option, allowing for an immediate selection. It's possible that the developers faced limitations with controller button availability, which might explain the lack of such an option for PC players for continuity, I guess. Nevertheless, I urge EA or Ascendant Studios, I know this is their first game and product, to consider this feedback as it directly impacts gameplay fluidity. Speaking of fluidity, the movement mechanics in Immortals of Aveum are actually pretty good. Fans of titles like Apex Legends or Titanfall will feel right at home thanks to the EA polish and publishing influence. You can sprint, blink, double jump, and hover in the air, creating a dynamic and exhilarating combat experience. The freedom to double jump onto elevated platforms and unleash your spells and swiftly wipe out your enemies quite honestly feels awesome. The boss fights did feel a little easy, and the mechanics aren't like that hard to figure out. I mean, ooh, big bright red, blue, and green gems on this construct's body. Wonder what I'm supposed to do against that. Luckily, you can change the difficulty of the game to craft the experience you're looking for. Now, let's move on to the story. I was only able to play for a few hours at this demo, so I only caught snippets of the lore and backstory, but here's what I know, the main plot. You play as Jack, a lost kid on the streets of Saren, and he's what they call a Triarch, someone who's able to wield all 3 types of magic. Most people in this Aveum universe can only wield 1 or 2. Now, Jack's magic potential was noticed by KarQ, who is the King's Marshal of Lucium, and Lucium is one of the few kingdoms in the world of Aveum. Instead of scolding Harvey Specter, she's here to actually scold Jack and mentor him into a top battle mage to help fight against another top superpower kingdom called Rasharn in the Ever War. The Everwar is actually what they call decades of conflict and bloodshed over the control of magic. Jack is joined by his team, the Order of the Immortals, to help scout, fight, and take down Rasharn. My first impressions of the characters are actually pretty good based on the dialogue, personality, charm, and the witty writing.
Hold your position. I'm on my way.
He'll be gone by then.
That was an order, Initiate.
Say again? I'm losing you.
You do know I can just see you waving your hand around, right?
Let's move on to sound. I just want to say the background music in each sequence and mission feels very fitting, right? It's got that epic feel, but it has like a bit of an urban hip-hop layer over top of it. Check it out. In terms of effects, each magic type has a great sound to it to evoke the spell quite well. The blue magic feels bolty, impactful, big oomphs when you land that mid-range. The red spells sound wide and enveloping, and the green spells with the fast projectiles have a nice pew-pew where it doesn't seem too overpowering because it's actually not supposed to be, right? It's a weaker magic with the trade-off of offering more utility. So my concluding thoughts, should Overwatch players try Immortals of Aveum? Well, yeah, especially if you're looking for a PvE talent tree experience with a lot of potential builds, ability depth, and customization. This is Ascendant Studios' first product, with development talent who came over from Telltale Games after they went bankrupt a few years ago. I'm bullish on independent AAA studios, and you know that they have to come up with a killer first product to stay competitive in this industry. And I think this game delivers that.